Nobody comes into this world as a Scorpio ascendant and has an easy path in life. It's not just challenging, it's a path that will crush you over and over again. It will strip everything away from you, only to force you to grow and to transform, to time and time again shed skins that are no longer serving you. The karmic goal for all Scorpios is to come to see their placements as tremendous gifts, right? It's like, sweet, thanks for the gifts, thanks for all the trauma and backbreaking intensity and setbacks and inevitable challenges and polar extremes between everything. Like, it's great. Well, we're going to work with it. We work with it. But no, I'm being a little silly. The point being that no one coming into this life, seeing all that stuff on paper, they wouldn't be inclined to be like, yes, if life is choose your own adventure, that's the path that I want to choose. But for Scorpio rising folks, for them especially, with the rising sign being the fastest moving point, sign on the horizon at birth, that's the choose your own adventure that they have chosen. Maybe they have or they haven't chosen it, depending on whether you believe in kind of karmic evolutionary astrology. But Scorpio rising, here you are. And frankly, we're all a little bit terrified of you. People talk about the ascendant in astrology to represent the lens through which everything else, all our other influences and energies and everything is shown through. And I like that metaphor. I think it's a good one. People talk about the rising sign as being the mask that we wear, the clothes that people see us in, right? It says something about our physical appearance. You should understand the rising sign as the path that we walk. It's the life journey. When we are a Scorpio rising, we are ultimately always carrying out and living a Scorpio themed existence. I make a ton of Scorpio content. I talk a lot about Scorpio moon, general Scorpio as a zodiac sign. The thing to keep in mind with Scorpio rising is in many ways it is the most terrifying Scorpio placement. For a Scorpio sun, Scorpio themes are integrated into the ego and identity of the person. They're naturally expressed. People see you as a Scorpio. All the classic Scorpio challenges are going to be there, but there's something maybe more comfortable about it. For the Scorpio moon, you're jamming, that scorpionic process, managing extremes. That's all jammed into the private instinctual level. Your emotional process, you're learning to kind of wage war with that. It's definitely hard and definitely intense, but it's private. It can come out. But in relation to the rest of the world, it's like it's compartmentalized to you. Scorpio rising, there's no hiding. There's no running away from this path for you. This is immediately clear to anyone coming into contact with a Scorpio rising, seeing the intensity in their eyes. It's sometimes physically, you can describe it physically, but sometimes it's just an aura, it's a felt presence, it's heaviness, it's the way that they and their energy takes up space, and other people can feel that. It's my entire human experience is throwing Scorpio themes at me and my whole life, these Scorpio extremes, brushes with just such intense, violent experiences, dark experiences, trauma, and requires me to again, figure out how to constantly orient myself and work with and manage all of that. And it's a lot. The really interesting thing about rising signs is that it triggers acknowledgement of this inherent tension in astrology between free will and determinism. Because for a Scorpio rising, they're always going to be somewhat led toward the darkness, toward the abyss of Scorpio extremism. And it's incredibly scary. It's sobering because there's a sense of like, why me or why this? Could I have done different? Like it almost seems for Scorpio rising that these things happen that are so fated. It challenges a feeling of free will in a much more extreme, in a much more uncomfortable way than many other placements. And The thing with astrology is that it's a bit of both. Astrology is about cycles, it's about brushstrokes, it's about possibilities, themes. There's no predicting an absolute, there's no predicting a for sure thing that's going to happen. The events themselves, as we experience them, those are the opportunities for us to exercise choice and free will. You don't have control over whether this super traumatic external thing happens. You don't have control of a death in the family or all the inherited trauma that you get. Maybe your parents had a really crazy divorce that affected you a lot as a kid, or there's addiction in the family, or some external things. Like, these moments for Scorpio rising keep happening throughout the course of their life. The Scorpio rising person is going to experience the worst depth. There's no avoiding it. There's up or down, there's heaven or hell, transcendence to more evolved expressions and higher planes of being, and there's horrible darkness and death and violence and fear. There's not necessarily like an end point to it. It's not like, oh, they get, I conquered this horrible thing and now I am at my phoenix phase, I'm in an evolved phase, I've gone through all the challenges, I'm good now, right? Because the only way that a Scorpio rising person really manages to get a handle on all this is a complete letting go. It's a complete resignation. It's actually an embrace of both extremes as a baseline state of being. It's a person that is forced to really recognize the primacy and the beauty and the essentialness of only the present moment, of these jagged, imperfect present moments, which are going to be mixes of light energy and dark, basal, violent energy. And they have to kind of get comfortable with it. And that's what's really terrifying about these folks, is that when they do kind of manage to get a handle on everything, it's literally because they are standing in the middle of this giant, crazy energetic vacuum between transcendent places that most people cannot really even conceptualize or fathom, and like the most horrible, destructive, painful places that would totally destroy a lot of other people. And this is a karmic process. Scorpio rising came into this life because in previous lives they were comfortable, and here there is some kind of debt to be paid. There is some kind of lesson to be learned. There is a letting go that is required in order to make it through. That's the only way you surf and manage to create some type of homeostasis across this type of life. This is where the intimidation of a Scorpio rising comes in, because someone that is just so deeply acquainted with such extremes of human experience it's a lot. It bestows wisdom, it bestows a certain presence. A Scorpio rising has to do some serious time in the throes of the extremes of absolute pain and nothingness and all that. It sounds scary, but this is a tremendous gift, because it's only the power that grows out of absolute nothing. That's the most pure power there is, because you know that no matter what, whenever something bad strikes again or something is taken away, that can't be taken away. Through this life, you develop an ability to know thyself and to be completely undisturbed by any type of rug being pulled out from under you. Ironically, Scorpio rising that does manage to get out on the other side of it, they begin in a lot of ways, or at least their life does, it begins to look similar to their opposite sign, Taurus, where your life, it doesn't necessarily become free from these intense scorpionic influences. It is being able to work with it, being less disturbed by it, being able to process and deal with it without having to throw the table over, or without falling to rock bottom when something is pulled out from under you. You are creating some kind of spiritual and really intense emotional stability. There's almost a calmness that you develop amidst this intense experience of extremes. You make a home there, and this is really a tremendous gift, because that is wisdom, that is knowledge that can be shared with other people. It can be, you can give back. That's the karmic ask. the being that can kind of travel between different dimensions, high and low, and do something productive with that, right? It takes all kinds of people to make the world go round, and you're the person that can see the beauty and help people that are in a tremendous state of suffering or darkness or confusion. And you can bring your gifts and you can bring what you've learned in order to help others. And that's really, really awesome. Other factors will have something to bear on how well a Scorpio rising can meet the challenges that they're going to face. Not everyone has the same difficulty in getting out on the other side, and who crumbles from the intense scorpionic pressure and who builds back up and does really take that phoenix trajectory. No matter what, though, no path is unconquerable, because there is a supreme power that is bestowed to the Scorpio rising person along with this path that they're given, and they have access to it all the time. And it may not feel like that, but their whole life is just trying to tap and give them opportunities to like finally unlock that. And it's up or down. It's these moments where Scorpio does rise from the ashes. It's like a snake going up a bamboo tube. There's not stairs. It's this moment of interdimensional transcendence that's possible. Yes, this process is tough, but like that's where the gift comes from, because you don't get that ability to just tap into something like that by having a bad day at work, or the wait staff brought you the wrong meal. No, you need real adversity, like real destruction, real death over and over again. And that's why this sign is so freaking intense. And that's just the reality of it. As a result, Scorpio rising, they become less interested in material things. They become less focused on attachments. They realize that everything is incredibly impermanent, and that's just a law of the world. Scorpio rising becomes a lot more concerned with the type of things that they could take with them after this life. They're more concerned with what can they find and create and participate in that transcend the limits of this human experience of meaningful relationships, profound healing skills, sharing those with other people. The task of navigating this path in the human realm, it's bumpy, as Scorpio rising is learning to respond to all these intense moments and channel their energy and their choices around it. There's some darkness that is channeled through them inevitably. These individuals struggle with anger and jealousy and control and paranoia and fear, and it all leaks through all parts of their life. That's why there's no escape, right? Everything must be integrated. Everything must be taken on. It's really important for Scorpio rising folks to develop some kind of mission and purpose, some spiritual calling that can be their North Star and guiding light. These folks need a way to cultivate soul and connect with their soul, and their success and navigating the challenges that they face completely depends on it. Because someone with this placement, I think, especially when you're in low points, it's easy to romanticize the darkness. It's easy to romanticize how awful everything is and identify with it, and almost in a self-sabotaging way. But that is actually, that's one of the most dangerous things, because you have to understand this energy, you have to appreciate it and love it and see its potential gifts, but you can't celebrate it or worship it, because that's how you stay stuck. Again, it comes back to thinking and meditating about Taurus, because ultimately this whole life you are working on building some type of material bridge between these higher and lower realms, some way to gain a foothold amidst these karmically intense extremes. That's a very Taurian process of putting one foot in front of the other and staying focused on the moment as you gain some stability in this complex middle. It will always be a scorpionic process, but there are also times for just building and doing. It's a lifelong challenge with lots of ups and downs, but no one is more equipped to do it than Scorpio rising. No one is capable or being asked to do it like Scorpio rising is. And like with all Scorpio placements, there's a treasure chest of gifts, both material, spiritual, esoteric, in the process of taking that on. This started bordering a little bit more on the esoteric, but I hope it was interesting. Drop your comments and talk to you soon.